Good morning, everyone. We're going to start off with the flag salute, and I ask Sheriff Elliott to lead us in that, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for that. Before we get going, our Administrator, Ken Huffer, has an announcement.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to try my best to kind of hold it together a little bit. Prepared something in writing just in case I'm not able to convey this. So I just want to say this week it's been a very difficult and tragic week for our admin team. We lost a key member of our admin team on Tuesday morning. And unfortunately, our Deputy County Administrator, Justin Hogue, passed away Tuesday morning after a lengthy health battle. And I know this was something that he was battling for the last 2 years and left us in awe with his resilience and how hard he was working while at the same time he was fighting for his life. And it was clear up to the end. Had meetings with him on Monday as we were working on a number of projects. And so when I got the news on Tuesday morning, shock is a little bit of an understatement. Justin worked for the county in the role as my deputy for the last 6 years. And I can say that Justin was a joy to work with, and he served this county with distinction and was a hard worker. And I know a lot of the things that he was working on, it was really kind of behind the scenes. But he did an outstanding job, and he's going to be missed by all of us on the admin team that had the privilege and the joy of working with him over the years. I have, some of his team is here. And just know that it's been a tough week for all of us since Tuesday morning. Justin leaves behind a very young family, and we're all grieving his loss. And I just ask that, people keep, his family in their thoughts and prayers. Keeping in mind his wife, his 4 young children, and the rest of his family who are right now grieving the loss of just an amazing person. And he was a fantastic co-worker, and I considered him a friend as well. And so I just wanted to take a few moments and acknowledge that Justin's not with us, and right now our admin team there's a lot of hurt right now. So yeah, sorry.
Yeah, thank you. And I just want everybody to know that, they have the full support of this board for whatever they need for support through the next, as we trek through this next few days and weeks. That'll bring us to item C, which is our calendar session. Do you guys have any changes that you'd like to make?
No changes.
Thank you. So for public comment, I just want to make a couple notes here. If you're here for an agenda item, go ahead and fill out the tan pieces of paper. If you're here for just a general comment, I'll ask you to come up here in a little bit. If you're online, raise your virtual hand. And also online, if you're going to comment on an agenda item, we'll try to catch you at the agenda. Just raise your virtual hand when it comes to that agenda item. When you do come up to give public comment, please state your name and your address. If you are here for item I-14, this is not your first time to be able to give public comment. You'll also have two other times. Once will be at the Planning Commission, and another time will be at the BOC when we have our second public hearing. So there'll be two other options for you to give public comment besides today. I think this will also be a good time to bring up because there is probably a lot of interest out there. We have updated our website to have events, current events tabs on the main page. We've also stepped up a brand new Yamhill County Facebook page, which the link is on that main website page. So you can go to there, click it, and like it and follow it. We're going to be posting updates and just that are county related or news releases on that page. So that brings us to, I have two general comments. And we're going to start off with Chris Chenoweth. Morning.
Good morning, board.
Name and address, please.
My name's Chris Chenoweth, 977 Southwest Dovecourt, McMinnville, Oregon. I'm here. Good morning to all three of you. Glad to see each and every one of you. I'm here in what is going to be predominantly a political comment. Unlike my comment 2 weeks ago, where I came before this board because I was very disappointed at the fact that we had one of you three feel it appropriate to give testimony in what I can only call a fringe position of supporting the tax that has now been put upon the state that we cannot afford. That was a position that came from my heart. I spent 5 years on city council so far pushing back on increased fees and taxes. This is a very principled position for me and one that I think our poor residents can't continue to afford to pay. I'm here because last week I became a topic of conversation and I was not here to enjoy that topic of conversation. And in that topic of conversations, it was insinuated first that there was not some understanding that I was thinking about running, which is categorically false. Everybody knows I've been considering running that is aware of my positioning. Second, it was insinuated that my comment was in regards to me running. So I have come to clear the record that that was not what I came for. And I've also come to say, at this point, I'm not running. So I want to make that very clear to everybody in this room so everybody's aware. Things could change, but between the responsibilities of my family, the responsibilities of my business, and the responsibilities of my relationships that I have going right now, I have enough priorities to deal with that I don't feel like I can put the time forward to run a campaign that needs to be run the correct way for this county. So I have no intent on running. I hope that's clear to everybody going forward. And I would think it would be appropriate in future conversations, if you have those assumptions, please just ask me. I'll be happy to answer those questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Our second general comment is Sonda Martin. Go ahead and come on up and please state your name and address. And while we're on Sonda, she also did submit written testimony that's in the record for today.
Hi, Commissioners. My name is Sonda Martin. I live in Newburgh. I've been a Newburgh resident for almost 25 years. Last week, I will admit that my public comment at the board meeting was completely spontaneous, as it was prompted by the outright dismissive, bullying, and condescension that I witnessed from Commissioner Sterrett and Commissioner Johnston towards Commissioner King, both after Marvin Bernard's public comment and on multiple occasions prior. I'm more prepared this time. Though last week's comment was impromptu and perhaps not as organized as it could have been, it did provoke responses from both Commissioner Sterrett and Commissioner Johnston, and these were both informative and illustrative of the kind of behavior that prompted my comment in the first place. If one had witnessed Commissioner Johnston repeatedly demonstrate how willing he is willing to talk down to and belittle his male colleague in a public forum, it wouldn't be hard to wonder if that's how he would also talk to women, especially those whom he disagrees with. Sadly, I didn't have to wait long to find the answer. Commissioner Johnston's response to my comment was also openly dismissive and patronizing. One could almost call it mansplaining, to use the common colloquialism. He started off by expressing his disagreement and then went on to suggest that I should go back and watch the prior week's meeting, as he had clearly addressed the concerns about funding the parks in that meeting. And the implication was that I was woefully uninformed and perhaps incapable of understanding. But hey, I'm personally willing to entertain the idea that I could be mistaken. So I went back and I rewatched that prior meeting to see if I had indeed missed something. The answer is no. I was not mistaken. Upon rewatching, I saw again the dismissive and bullying behavior towards Commissioner King, and I listened to Commissioner Johnston repeatedly praise the Parks Board and refer to their many great ideas. However, he did not speak about any specific funding proposals, which seems to be at the heart of what Commissioner King had asked about. So no, Commissioner Johnston, you did not actually speak about the funding for the parks plan, unless hinting at concepts of a plan is considered to be adequately addressing the question. Furthermore, the last statement in your rebuttal to my public comment was, okay, moving on, which further demonstrated your attitude of dismissiveness and scorn, this time to a constituent and a woman instead of your male colleague. Commissioner Sterritt's own dismissiveness and disregard came at the end of the meeting when she said facetiously, at the risk of sounding like a bully, and then took another dig at Commissioner King, this time for his support on an issue which she disagreed with. And obviously, the irony of this kind of response is not lost on her. In my career as a nurse, there was much discussion and education about horizontal or lateral violence, also known as bullying, as that's a commonly acknowledged problem in the nursing field. Unlike the stereotype of the schoolyard bully pushing you into lockers and shaking you down for your lunch money in the back alley, bullying in the adult world, especially in a workplace setting, often takes the form of being openly dismissive, talking over or down to a colleague, refusing to share information or collaborate, excluding a colleague from power or social interaction, undermining them, and or gossiping about them. The behavior is meant to isolate, demoralize, and disenfranchise the target and demonstrate the perpetrator's superior position and power. It was come as no surprise to any rational person that such behavior is actually disruptive and counterproductive in a workplace, as it is on this county board. Instead of collaboration for the good of the county and its residents, we get high school level petty bullying and power plays. This country is facing unprecedented challenges to its economy, its health, and to the very freedoms that we have taken for granted. In order to meet those challenges and ensure the highest level of resilience, liberty, and well-being for county residents, we need a board that works together and models mutual respect and collaborative problem solving. One last point. At the last meeting, Commissioner Sterritt praised local Kirk vigils as having had no riots, no looting, and no killing of cops. Given her ideological leanings, the hypocrisy of her observations and praise can't be ignored. I'm pretty sure the pious commissioner did not denounce the 1,600 individuals who caused millions of dollars of damage to our U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021. Broken windows and doors, art destroyed, feces smeared across floors and walls, fire extinguishers and pepper spray discharged all over, and trash everywhere. They looted objects, including artwork, congressional laptops, and personal items, injured dozens of Capitol police officers, and killed 5. Nor did she openly decry the fact that despite overwhelming evidence of these crimes and conviction by a jury of their peers, these rioters and looters and cop killers were pardoned by the leader of her party of Law and Order. Apparently, lawful and appropriate behavior is in the eye of the partisan beholder. And really, this does not bode well for Yamhill County residents in the coming year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to online, is there any general comments on a non-agenda item? Raise your hand. Give it a little bit of time here. There's quite a few. We have one. Go ahead and prompt them. Rebecca Wallace, name and address, please.
Rebecca Wallace, Newburgh, Oregon. Good morning, commissioners.
Good
I
morning.
want to address Commissioner King's handling of the public meeting laws discussion on September 25th. Commissioner King said people had contacted him all week with questions about 2 commissioners attending an advisory meeting. If that were true, the professional response would have been to consult county counsel or seek written guidance from the Oregon Government Ethics Commission, not to stage an animated exchange in a formal board meeting, as he pointed out in a after video on social media. Instead, he turned it into a sideshow. In his follow-up video, he even whistled for dramatic effect. This isn't an isolated instance. Commissioner King has developed a pattern of posting divisive and theatrical videos that pull our community into national and state political debates that have nothing to do with the work of Yamhill County. Theatrics may draw clicks on Facebook, but they do nothing to build trust, solve problems, or keep the public informed. The law itself is not complicated. A quorum deliberating requires notice, agenda, and minutes. Advisory board meetings are already public. If commissioners attend together, the rule is simple. Either avoid deliberation or notice it properly. There's no confusion here. The confusion is created by performance. Yamhill County residents deserve commissioners who lead with clarity, professionalism, and respect for process, not drama, division, or political theater. It is becoming entirely clear so far with Commissioner David King's entire elected position that he is seeking to continually divide the county, focus on things that have not a lot to do with the actual business of what's happening in the county, and then throw mud on social media and bring things into the boardroom that have nothing to do with the actual business and work of what should be happening. So I would urge Commissioner David King to get to business and actually do the work that he's elected to do, instead of continually trying to create more divisive conversation outside of the Board of Commissioners. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Is there anybody else
Thank you.
online? Please raise your virtual hand. That's the same one. That's still Rebecca, right? Okay. So it looks like there is no more. So we're going to move on with our agenda. E is department updates. And today we have Carrie Hinton from the clerk's office. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Name and address, please.
I live across the street.
Okay.
So I do want to acknowledge the loss. We also had a couple board workers who passed in the last couple of weeks. So there's a lot of loss happening right now. And so my thoughts and prayers are with everybody.
Thank you.
So we do have some new news, which is why I wanted to come today and give an update to you. We have been waiting patiently on a list with all 36 counties, I believe, at least the majority of 36 counties, to introduce a property recording alert service. And we got called at the beginning of September that we are next. So I wanted to give everyone a heads up. We're not quite there. There's a little bit of back programming that needs to be done and a couple other fine details to be worked out, but we are working very diligently to get this up and running sometime towards the middle of the month. So it is free. We are offering this free. Every county that has signed up so far is offering it free to property owners. Property owners have continued to express concerns about the risk of real estate fraud. We get calls every day. We've had someone in 3 different parties have come in just this week, checking on things. And so it's just becoming more of a thing where people are getting concerned. Now, one thing that I want to stress is that this is not a prevention. It's not a fraud prevention service. We don't have any way of stopping something from happening, because if it meets the requirements of a document that is allowable to be recorded by law, we have to record it. So our hands are tied in a certain degree, but there are the requirements that we can push back on if it's, doesn't meet those requirements. So the service is designed to enhance the monitoring of recording activity. And so it's for property owners. If you don't live here, you can sign up for it. If you own property here and you live in another state or you live out of town, it's not just limited to people who live in Yamhill County. And it offers residents greater transparency and control over their property records, because they can sign up, and then if something were to get recorded, it's going to send them alert. And they will know immediately that something was recorded in their name. Now, if you misspell your name, or if you have a very common name, you'll want to use like a middle initial or something, or if you always sign maybe like your full name, whatever you use for legal documents, that's what we're encouraging people to use to sign up. Many times property fraud goes undetected until it's too late. So this is a way that if something were to happen and it truly was fraud, you would be notified right away that something was recorded. And then from that point forward, it's your responsibility to contact law enforcement and to go down that road of figuring out what steps you would need to take, because we can't give legal advice. We're just there to give you a tool that might help you. So we have partnered with the assessor's office to include an insert in every tax statement that's being mailed in October. So we'll be able to get the word out very quickly and to a large amount of people at one time. And we'll also do some social media blasts and also a press release when it's completely up online. So the way it works is you sign up, you're allowed 10 names to monitor. And you're required to set up a password. You're required to give basic information. It's not any information that we have that we're going to blast out to anyone or keep. We really can't see all of that inner workings, because we can't go in and you can't call me and say, oh, I spelled my name wrong. Can you fix it? You have to fix it yourself. There is a little bit of an authentication process. So when you sign up, you're sent an email, because we want to make sure that you didn't misspell your email and that we're not sending it to a bad email address. So there is a little bit of accountability there. So a robot can't sign up, a person needs to sign up. And then you have to also then acknowledge that email and verify that it's you, and then you will be signed up into the program. So some of the key features, you get same-day notifications. It's a tool to help protect your ownership. Enhanced monitoring, it's an improved way of tracking names and greater accuracy. And then it uses detailed and concise data in each notification. So there is the risk that if you have a common name, you may get a notification if you are not specific in how you set your names up. So if my name is Mary Smith, if there's a lot of Mary Smiths in the county, I could accidentally get one. So just keep that in mind if your name is common, that, if you've got someone else's, but it's public record. You can come, you can call us, you can come down, you can ask us, and we would have the document. You'd be able to tell if it was yours or not. So we are looking forward to offering this really soon, because people have been asking for a long time. Jackson County was first to roll it out last December, and they've had great success.
Good.
So far, so good.
Carrie, I have a quick question. You said there would be no cost to the property owner, but there has to be some commensurate cost. I'm assuming
Yes.
your office is absorbing that. And
Yes.
is that significant?
No, it's not.
It's not. In terms of staff time, I know you guys are already always under the gun in terms of, time crunches and
Yes.
things. Are you going to be able to handle this with the staffing that you have?
So we anticipate a rush of phone calls and activity in the beginning. But once that dies down, it will definitely be manageable. So we are planning on having some extra help during the couple weeks at the end of October, which really times well into the election that we are going to have in November. So we'll just utilize some of them to help answer phone calls. And we'll have a dedicated page on the website for this program with all of frequently asked questions, a little background about it. And so people will be able to learn more about it from there as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So we do have an election. I will just make a quick note of that. The city of McMinnville has called for a bond, and Amity Fire District is asking for a renewal of a 5-year local option tax. So those are the two that will be happening on November 4th. The first day to begin to mail ballots is October 15th. So we're busy getting ready for all of that right now. We've been working on it since about September. And then we've already started the May primary election. So we're doing 2 at once at the moment, but because the filing deadline's open earlier for the May. In other news, we've, since we thought it was interesting because you always hear our numbers and what we've done at budget time. So I was like, we need some fun facts for today. So from July through September, I've performed 32 weddings. We've done 435 passports. We've taken 449 photos. We've issued 240 marriage licenses, and we've recorded almost 3,300 documents. So that's just kind of for fun. Wow. But yeah, we're down 2 positions right now as well. So we're busy. But thank you for your time. If you have questions, if you have anyone asking about it, make sure they call our office, and we'd be more than happy to help them out.
Appreciate it, Carrie. Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
have a question. We
Yeah.
know the Department of Justice is looking at Oregon's voting situation. I wonder how that impacts the counties.
Right now, it is still in litigation over the voter roll request they made. And so we have not heard of any materialized impact. Once they work through that process, then there will probably be decisions or adjustments made, but it's really speculation at this point as to how that will all play out. So until we work through the litigation, we really don't know.
When people see stories like that, and I know myself, I always think in terms of how does that impact our voter integrity? And I know that there are questions about motor voter, or about folks
Right.
who are not, should not be voting, having voted, and only a small percentage of those, of those voters have actually been identified. There are more. So how do we at the county level answer questions for ourselves and others about concerns about voter integrity and the ballots that are going out?
So the good news is that we are what most people would consider a small to medium-ish county. So we have a much greater involvement in our voter rolls. We personally call people sometimes, check on them. We have ways to review different things more in depth. You know, when we get records from the state, online registrations, those are looked at and researched by a human every morning. When you have larger counties, they are researched by a human as well, but you know, they're doing so many and the volume is so large, and they may not know as many people in town. We got one the other day, and we were like, are we sure they moved? And so, you know, it's just things like that. That is the nice thing about what our office can do. But overall, I would say that every county is being much more diligent. We are checking things, double checking things. One of the things that has been kind of the rhetoric is that, you know, Oregon refused to give anything to the DOJ. And I know in some news articles, it was reported that we did offer them the statewide list, which is available to anyone if you ask for it. And that's not what they wanted. They wanted the entire database. And there is, I wrote it down just in case if you would ask me about it, ORS 247.948, Section 2, clearly states that there are pieces of your voter registration that are confidential, as in they're not to be disclosed to the public. And those were the items that they weren't going to get by requesting that list. And so that's what they're after. They're after your month and day of birth, which is what we're not supposed to give out. We only can give out the year. They want your driver's license. Under Oregon law, we cannot give out your driver's license number to anybody. They want your social. You cannot give your social to anybody. And then the other piece that would be attached to your voter registration is your signature, which is not something we give out. So those are the things that we still, as clerks, are committed to protect and not get into the wrong hands of people. One thing that was pointed out in a call, a nationwide call earlier this week that I was on, was that when you signed up or when you registered to vote on the voter registration card, did it say that at some point your information would be subject to other agencies, other divisions of government? They would, and what they might use it for, because we still don't really even know what it's going to be used for. And so that is another thing, that's another piece of the puzzle. Has the public been informed that if we were to turn over everything, what that means to them? And, you know, we have bad actors in the world. And so the thing we want to protect and make sure of is just like with the property fraud, is that this information, a lot of things are public record, but we don't want it to get into the wrong hands. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions?
None for me.
Thank you, Carrie.
Thank you. Have a good day. Thank you.
Up next is item F, is our work session. There is none. G is our consent agenda. I would move approval. Is there any further discussion?
None.
None. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. H is old business. There is none. That brings us to I, other business. I1 is consideration of approval of a memorandum of understanding between Yamhill County Sheriff's Office and Teamsters Local 223 ratifying the 2024-2027 collective bargaining agreement seniority-based vacation selection period to September 1st through September 30th annually.
I move approval.
Motion's been made. Any further discussion?
None.
None. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Item I2 is consideration of approval of a memorandum of understanding between Yamhill County Sheriff's Office and Teamsters Local 223, modifying the 2024-27 collective bargaining agreement to allow for reemployment of union members effective upon full execution through June 30, 2027.
I move approval.
Motion's been made. Any further discussion?
None.
None? All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. I3 is consideration of approval of the submission of a grant application for the 2025 Oregon Emergency Management State Homeland Security Program, SHSP grants.
Chair, I move approval.
Motion's been made. Any further discussion?
This one was about, we tried to put in for the federal dollar CIP, didn't make it through. And so this is an effort to update the microwaves for our radio towers, which will affect every single responding organization that we have in Yamhill County. So if any of you are listening, I think the sheriff is looking for letters of support from fire departments and otherwise. So, and Chair, if we do pass this, if you're able to reach out to your liaisons to try to get some of those. I think he's looking for them by the end of the day tomorrow.
All right. Thank you. Motion's been made. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. I4 is consideration of approval of amending the Charles Metzger Park deed restrictions and right-of-way easement agreement to remove restrictions, allow for public park access, and provide a dedicated easement to access Baker Creek Falls. I want to make sure we don't have any comments for this one. I do have one from Philip Forv.
Do you have
Do
a
you-
comment on this one?
Do you, what, not 14, which one is it?
No.
14, okay. Let me write that down here. Thank you. Okay, so item I4. I would make a motion of approval. Is there any further discussion?
None.
So I want to give a little bit of background on this. Something we've been working on for well over 2 years while I've been here. Ken can give you even more history back beyond decades.
77. 90s.
I know I was having discussions with Weyerhaeuser about this in 2006, 2007. Yeah.
So I happened to ran during that ball bearing fire, the aftermath, we had a meeting up there, and I happened to run into Scott Marlega with Weyerhaeuser, and I asked him, I'm like, hey, what are the odds of readdressing this and getting the easements, the deed restrictions lifted? And right place, right time, and the ball started rolling from there, and they're Weyerhaeuser was very amicable about it. And thank you to Travis for following up with him and every few months and be like, hey, where are we at with this? You can imagine dealing with a large corporation that is lifting deed restrictions, number one, and number two, actually giving us more park ground. That's the huge key to this, is that we've extended the size and the footprint of Metzger Park out to Baker Creek Falls, which is that's the best part about this. Anyway, it's been 2 years in the making, and I really appreciate Travis staying on top of this with Weyerhaeuser and push it along. I appreciate what the groundwork Ken has laid in the previous years, and thanks to Christian, who's online, for getting all the final documents put together. This is huge for the county.
Thanks
I
for
will.
staying on top of that.
Yes, absolutely. I will say the news article that came out, I want to make sure we make some clarifications here. It will not be open to the public right away. It's going to be phased. It'll be phased by, you're going to have to make a reservation. And the reasons for that is because it's been just for youth groups, it doesn't get used as much as it should for as large as the park is. And there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And the scale of people that have been going there, it's fine for what those groups were, but you open it to the public, we have restrooms that we need to address. We have bridges that are unsafe that need to be addressed on trails. There's trails that need to be cleaned up. There's a lot that goes into this. So just bear with us. We'll keep you posted as we progress with this. And you can go to our website. We have press releases now, and go to our Facebook, go to the park's Facebook. We'll keep you updated on this as we progress. But love where we're at with this. Motion's been made. Everybody in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Well done.
Item I5, consideration of approval of amendment number 2 to agreement number 185833 between Yamhill County and the Oregon Health Authority Board Order 25-269 for public health services, decreasing funding by $22,510.
Sure, I just want to add some context to that. OHA has shared that the overall funding that they received from the federal government had decreased from previous years, but basically there were no changes to the formula, and the overall award amount decreased. The award amount decreased, but the dollar amount did decrease as well. So it has to do with federal funding, and I've got the numbers here if you'd like to go into more detail, but I would move approval.
Motion's been made. Any further discussion?
None.
None. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Item I6, consideration of approval of amendment number 3 to agreement number 169589 between Yamhill County and the Oregon Department of Human Services, ODHS, Child Welfare Board Order 21-208 in the amount of $455,910, effective September 30th, 2025 through June 30, 2027.
I would move approval.
Motion's been made. Any further discussion?
None.
None. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Item I7 is consideration of approval of service element prior authorization, SEPA, number 140162349, under the agreement between Yamhill County Health and Human Services and the Department of Human Services for the financing of our Community Development Disabilities Program in the amount of $757,239.
Chair, I move approval.
Motion's been made. Any further discussion? None? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Item I8 is consideration of approval of service element prior authorization, SEPA, number 135526654, under the agreement between Yamhill County Health and Human Services and the Department of Human Services for the financing of our Community Developmental Disabilities Program in the amount of $313,936.
I move approval, Chair.
Motion's been made. Any further discussion? None? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Item I9 is consideration of approval of service element prior authorization, SEPA, number 136891883, under the agreement between Yamhill County Health and Human Services and the Department of Human Services for the financing of our Community Developmental Disabilities Program in the amount of $10,720,461.
Chair, I move approval.
Motion's been made. Is there any further discussion?
None.
None? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Item I10 is consideration of approval of a service element prior authorization, SEPA 137433217, under the agreement between Yamhill County Health and Human Services and the Department of Human Services for the financing of our Community Developmental Disabilities Program in the amount of $9,000.
I move approval.
Motion's been made. Any further discussion?
No.
None? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. I11, consideration of approval of ordinance 943 to adopt the amended Yamhill County Ambulance Service Area Plan and amending the Yamhill County Ambulance Service Code.
Chair, I'm going to ask,
Sorry.
oh. he's
Oh,
gonna-
Christian?
Yeah, I mean, Commissioner Starrett, if you want to go ahead, I think we were probably going to raise the same issue. But if you'd like, I'm happy to provide some context.
Please.
So yesterday, I'm pleased to report that the ASA committee did recommend approval of the plan to the Board of Commissioners, but with some slight modifications that we'll be working with our committee head and potentially OHA over the next few weeks. So I'm going to ask that this item be set over for hopefully no more than 1 to 2 weeks. And then we'll come back with the first reading at that time.
Okay.
What we're hoping is that the changes that were recommended at the ASA meeting will actually just be something we need to submit to OHA. Been working on this for what, 2-3 years? And
At
every
least.
time you send in another revision, it takes a long time to get back. So we're hoping that they'll take a look at that and say, you're good to go with the changes that the ASA committee agreed on. So it was a very productive meeting, and there were some I think, good positive changes. So
Good.
yeah, good idea. Thank you, Christian.
Okay, so we're-
have a quick
Thank you.
question, Commissioner Starrett, if you don't mind. While I was reading the packet before I met with Christian, I noticed that it's, and I don't remember the wording off the top of my head which way it goes, but it shouldn't be a mutual aid 5%, greater than 5% of, I don't remember which one of the service areas that are providing service. So if MAC is providing service, mutual aid service to Sheridan, is that something with their Sheridan's problem, something I could see being an issue of only having one?
No, and I think they addressed that yesterday to some degree in terms of their staffing.
Yeah.
And everybody is pretty much looking at how they can deal with the staffing
Right.
concerns. So I don't think they had a problem. They didn't talk about it yesterday. That was not on the list of things they were talking about. We were talking in terms of specific language in the ASA that could be, I guess, just massaged.
Sure.
And a couple of corrections and specifics on response time and like that. But Christian, if you want to add more context, I don't see that there was.
It was just
any-
one thing I noticed that I
Yeah.
could see be a problem down the road, but
Yeah, it wasn't anything they seemed to be concerned about. They did report out, it was Sheridan's turn to, they basically report out on their statistics, response times, incidents, things like that. And they seemed just basically telling us what they're doing to address their staffing issues.
Thank you.
thank you.
Good. Okay. Motion has been made to just remove it, or is it just
Doesn't require any
Okay.
action.
Right. It's just going to be set over. Thank you.
moving on? Item I-12, consideration of approval of amendment number 1 to the lease agreement between Yamhill County, the leaser, and Oregon Mutual Insurance Company, the leasee, reducing the total square footage leased by leasee in the building located at 400 Northeast Baker Street, McMinnville, Oregon, 97128, and adjusting base rent and operating expenses accordingly effective October 1, 2025. I would move approval. Is there any further discussion?
None.
None. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Item I-13 is consideration of approval to reappoint Lacey Summers and Katie Russ and to appoint Richard King to the Property Value Appeals Board, PVAB, for 2-year terms through June 30, 2027. I would move approval on this. Is there any further discussion? None. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay. We are on to item I-14. If there's anybody online that wants to make a public comment, raise your virtual hand now. We have 2 in-house public comments that we're gonna get to first. And just as a reminder, there will be 2 more times to give public comment when this becomes a public hearing at the Planning Commission and then back at the BOC again. And for updates, go to our website on that for press releases, or you can look on our Facebook page. So first up, I think I had Sonda first, so I'll ask Sonda to come up for a comment on item I-14. Good morning again.
Good morning again. Commissioners, Sonda Martin from Newburgh, back again. On top of my earlier expressed concerns about the lack of collegial and respectful behavior on the part of Commissioners Sterrett and Johnston, I'm back to express my, disgust about the sneaky inclusion of item I-14 in today's agenda. The Yamhill West Sider Trail has been one of the most controversial topics of the past decade in Yamhill County, and its abrupt stoppage cost our county a great deal of money. That campaign to quash the trail was prominently led by Commissioner Sterrett and former Commissioner Lindsay Burschauer. Now, out of seemingly nowhere, Chair Johnston adds it onto the published agenda within barely 24 hours of this meeting. I don't know, perhaps he hoped last-minute addition would be missed by the Yamhill County folks distracted by the Trump regime's growing threat of economic depression and the trampling of our freedoms that we're witnessing every single day. At last week's meeting, Commissioner Johnston repeatedly expressed his confidence in his personal understanding of the rules and restrictions around quorum, and that he does nothing wrong in that regard. And after 3 terms, I'm guessing Commissioner Sterrett is equally as knowledgeable, if not more, since Commissioner Johnston is her obvious protege. However, this agenda item's sudden inclusion with no packet info and very little notice seems to clearly indicate that some serial conversations are happening outside these chambers on what is clearly a land use matter that should be transparently discussed in public by this board. Only a naive or foolish constituent would not suspect that quorum rules and quasi-judicial land rules are being broken by 2 of our commissioners. I guess this is one time where Commissioner King must be grateful the bullies didn't share information with him. I don't know about anyone else, but at best, this is some shady shenanigans. Whatever the result, it won't be forgotten by the voters next May. Thank you.
Thank you. And just as a reminder,
Thank you.
the public hearing will be at the Planning Commission, and there'll be another opportunity for public comment then. And there'll also be another public hearing before the BOC, and there'll be another opportunity for public comment. Up next, we're going to have Philip Forve. Name and address, please, and welcome.
Thank you. Philip Forve, 2208. It's kind of German and French. It's
Sorry
the
about that.
Alsatian region there. But 2089 Northwest Doral Street, McMinnville. Appreciate the opportunity to comment. I found out about this item on the agenda last night. I was on an airplane coming back from Texas. And appreciate the opportunity to speak. I'd like to talk about a path forward for the trail. I think the health, safety, and economic benefits of rail trail conversions are well understood. There's hundreds, if not thousands, of rail trail conversions across the country. I moved here from a state that had 2,000 miles of them, and is a very rural state, Minnesota. I could go from the Dakotas to Wisconsin on a rail trail. And I would often ride my bike from my suburban home to see a Twins ball game downtown, about 12 miles, and never get on a street, stay on a rail trail. So as much as I love Oregon, the one disappointment in my experience here is the lack of safe biking and safe walking and running opportunities. So the other thing is that happens, every rail trail faces some resistance, and that's natural. I work with executives in my career. I was just back at talk a little more about the company in Texas I was at. But every leadership plan faces some resistance from a stakeholder, whether it's employees or the community, and how you go forward is to address the issues of the stakeholders. And usually, if you do that well, you come up with a better plan. And you don't go forward if you simply give in to the people who resist, if it's a worthwhile plan. I think here in Yamhill County, and I don't know all the history, but I think there's an opportunity to engage more actively with the people who have concerns, and they're legitimate concerns. They should be respected. I think also the will of the majority of the residents of the county, which I think is about 66% who have expressed an opinion in a poll, like the idea. And I know the residents of Carlton and Yamhill want a safe way for their kids to get to and from home and school, and connect those communities more closely together. So I was down in Texas at a company that builds parts for automotive manufacturers. And in order to stay competitive, they started adding more and more robots to the facility, and immediately faced resistance from the employees. The employees were concerned that they would be replaced by robots. When they engaged more actively with the employees on what they were trying to do, was to take safety risks out of their jobs, make it ergonomically better, and make the plant more efficient so that the plant could actually grow, which is what happened. And over time, they've added more employees, and they've added more automation as well. So it's a win-win solution. And I think that's the job of you guys as leaders of this county, is to look for win-win solutions. Too often, we end up with win-lose, and we do best when we find solutions that satisfy the needs of all the stakeholders. So I'm here to support that. I appreciate the opportunity to comment on the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up we have Matt Dolphin. Name and address, please. Good morning.
Good morning. Name is Matt Dolphin. I'm 16870 Northeast Mountain Home Road, just outside of Newburgh. I had some prepared remarks, but before I get into them, if I am not mistaken, Commissioner Johnston, I heard you say now on 3 occasions during this meeting that there would be additional opportunities to speak on this at 2 additional meetings. You said that without the qualification that if this passes. And so I'm led to believe that you're under the assumption that this proposal to remove this from the transportation plan will pass today. And if that's the case, if that's your assumption, I wonder how you come to that assumption. The Oregon public meeting laws, their intention is to ensure that our government functions in an open and transparent manner. And I'm deeply concerned today that that is not happening. This board recently passed a park system plan. As part of the planning process, the citizens were surveyed on their recreation needs, and a study was done of local, state, and national recreation trends. In all of these surveys and studies, walking, hiking, and biking are at the top of the list of preferred recreation. Despite the growing and overwhelming support for more walking and biking recreation opportunities, the park system plan comes up woefully short in this regard, and it has been scrubbed of any mention of a trail project that would give the citizens a place to safely walk and bike, namely the Yamhalas West Sider Trail. And here we are today with our Board of Commissioners discussing removing from another plan the only asset this county owns that would serve as both recreation and active transportation. An opportunity for generations to come. So I'm left with these questions. Who added this to the agenda today at the last minute? And what or who caused them to add it at this time? Why does it seem that every time the citizens of this county tune in, this board is ignoring the needs of its citizens? I suspect that this wins you points politically and campaign contributions from a small group of wealthy business owners. But it certainly doesn't serve the needs of the citizens of this county or future generations. And it absolutely will not win you re-election. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Patty Williams. Come on down and name and address, please.
My name's Patty Williams. I live at 7860 Northwest Meadow Lake in Carlton. This anti-trail action item was included at the 11th hour. It's unfortunate, but is no surprise, really. The residents of this county have expressed their desire to keep the Yamhalas West Sider Trail as a right-of-way, as a publicly owned right-of-way over and over. Publicly owned. That's all of us. That's not 5 or 6 adjoining property owners. That's not the 3 of you. That's all of us. The only silver lining of seeing this action item is that you're concerned about your seats and that they're in jeopardy. And if that's the silver lining on a rainy day like this, I'll take it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that is online, okay. So that wraps up everybody in person. We do have 3 online, and we believe number 1 is going to be Brian Bowman. We're going to prompt you now. Can you hear us, Brian? We cannot hear you. Hang on a second.
I'm not sure. Yeah,
There
it
we
looks
go.
like.
We
Okay,
got it.
perfect.
Go ahead, Brian.
Appreciate the opportunity to speak.
Name and address, please.
Brian Bowman, Melody Lane in Newburgh, Oregon.
Thank you.
I appreciate the opportunity to speak. I'm disappointed, but understanding why the West Sider Trail isn't a higher priority in the transportation plan, but I would be very disappointed to see it removed entirely. Rails to Trails projects are some of the most successful public work projects we have. They're used by all sorts of users, of all ages and abilities, from grandparents to kids in strollers. They provide safe, car-free recreation access basically year-round due to their nature. This makes them an asset, not a liability to the communities that they serve. A few quick examples I have firsthand experience with. Banks Vernonia, obviously really close. the Columbia River Highway Trail between Mosier and Hood River, right? Not rails in that case, but public infrastructure that was converted. The OC&E Woods line in Klamath Falls, and recently had the opportunity to visit the historic railroad trail near Hoover Dam. Each of these, right, and all the similar parks I've been to are usually bustling with visitors and supporting local businesses and strengthening the mostly rural communities that they're in. These projects also help preserve the history of our rural heritage, in the Pacific Northwest, namely farming and logging. That's another unique way to keep people engaged with that heritage. And as a fiscal conservative, I value that many of these corridors were originally government land grants, handouts, subsidies to the railroad companies, and that repurposing them now gives taxpayers some ROI on those old investments. Letting an opportunity like the West Sider Trail slip away would look like government waste. I'd hate to see it come off the transportation system plan. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Second up is Amelia. Name and address, please.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes. Name and
Okay,
address.
perfect. Name is Amelia Roots, resident of 746 Corinne Drive in Newburgh.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thanks, commissioners. I think a lot of people have said far more eloquently than I, because I'll be honest, I looked at this email at 5 this morning when I started my work day. So I didn't have time to really prep anything. But unlike a lot of the people in this meeting, I'm actually a newer resident. I've only been here for about 4 years. And one of the things that I've lived all over the country from Alaska to the lower 48, and I cannot overstate the beauty of Oregon. And the idea to me of trying to restrict that and trying to prevent this rail to trail opportunity is outrageous. And funny enough, as someone who grew up on the East Coast, rail to trail is super common over there. And the amount of people that it attracts, and at a time when, as someone who works in vineyards and in wineries, at a time when we're struggling to get people to come, we want more tourists to come. The idea of biking and wine is a very common one. So the idea of shutting that down is just, it's kind of crazy to me on top of everything else. But beyond that, the fact that the communities feel so strongly about this, and even I as a new resident have felt how strongly the community feels about it. Frankly, in previous elections for the commissioner, I think her name was Lindsay, who did not succeed. One of the things that lots of people told me not to vote for her was because of this trail project. And I think that's important to stress, that this was enough that people would tell me in bars and things like that. And that just doesn't make any sense to me to take this off, especially as someone whose favorite thing is to take her dog on walks around Newburgh, around Yamhill, around Carlton, around all these places. So I hope that you will reconsider, those who are against it will reconsider their stance, if not for themselves, then for the community at large. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to number 3 is Renee Dolphin. Name and address, please.
You hear me?
Yes.
Renee Dolphin, Mountain Home Road, Newburgh, Oregon, Sherwood, Oregon.
Thank you.
My condolences in the loss of your colleague, first of all.
Thank you.
The time for spreading misinformation about the Yamhill Trail project is over. It goes through no farmland. It is not owned by any farmers. It is an old railroad path owned by the people of Yamhill County, who want safe routes to school, who want safe places for their kids to walk and to ride their bikes, who want a safe way to commute to work by bike from town to town. There are so many reasons why we need this trail. Please listen to us, your constituents, the majority. Your rich donors' wishes take a back seat to the vast recreational and transportation needs of the people of this county. As the lyrics of the Twisted Sister song says, we're not going to take it anymore. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any other online? Joe, we're going to prompt you. Name and address, please. Can you try speaking, Joe? We see you unmuted, Joe, but we can't hear you. Is it something on our side? Nope. Unprompt and prompt him again, maybe.
All right. Can you hear me now?
There we go. Yep, we got you, Joe.
All right.
Name and address.
Okay. I'll start over. This is Joe McLaughlin, 6275 Northwest Poverty Bend Road in McMinnville. And I would just, I guess I wasn't going to say anything, but I'm going to do this in honor of, I don't even know who this person was, but there was a Hispanic guy that drove down Highway 47 for about 1.5 years on his way to work every morning. And I just thought, oh, I felt so sorry for that man. And it was because I knew he would eventually get hit, because it seemed like, people were getting hit on bikes or whatever pretty regularly. It's about 1.5 years later, he got hit and he was killed. So in his honor, I just want to mention that, and hopefully that, I really believe this trail would be a great thing for the county. And, we moved here 35 years ago, and I just felt like, especially McMinnville, the forefathers set the city up. And I thought that, wow, they really planned ahead. And, I think of, the grandkids and the future families, that this would be such a gift for everybody to have a place to go, especially with all the new condensed housing where there's lack of places for people to go to play. This would be a great opportunity for that to happen. And also on the West Siders, I really believe in it. And yes, I agree with some of the issues that farmers have along the way. And, my property line goes down Panther Creek. And, I've offered a pathway through my property to connect with the city of McMinnville. I think the Chagouin Nature Preserve is on the other side there, and that could be a staging point for people from town to have a direct connect to that thing. So I really think this is an opportunity to make Yamhill County even more accessible, and all the benefits, health, mental, that people get from being out in nature. It's a win-win, and I would just really love to see this go on. And I hope that this could be something that your legacy could pass on. So thank you for your time, and I also appreciate everything you do in the county here. You guys are awesome. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it. Any other hands up? Oh, Lindsay Bershauer, we're going to prompt you. Name and address.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Good morning, Chair Johnston, Commissioners Sterrett, Commissioner King. My name is Lindsay Bershauer. I reside at 2662 Northwest Meadows Drive, and I am here to briefly comment on this agenda item. First of all, as a former commissioner who lived through the bulk of the debate about the Yamhill West Sider Trail. I think it's important that we continue to support public hearings for the removal of light rail from the TSP. If you actually look at, which I assume a lot of people haven't gone back and revisited Ordinance 880, but if you go back and review it, it says, quote, to provide for potential future use of the same right-of-way for commuter and or freight rail, unquote. Page 1, paragraph 2, and on page 8, the last paragraph, it says, quote, for the long-term goal of this project is to have a rail line along with the trail component. The rail with trail project will improve regional accessibility for business owners and allow the connection to other rail lines in the future, unquote. That's page 8, the last paragraph. I hear a lot of the same, hysteria about the Yamhill West Sider Trail that we were hearing from 2021. I also think it's worth noting that a lot of people refuse to call it what it actually says it's called in the TSP, which is rail with trail, meaning that the whole purpose of this project is for future light rail. And the trail was a sort of secondary component to the goal of the larger project. I think a lot of folks who have testified today are the same folks that were gaslighting former commissioners, even way back in 2012. They were gaslighting a lot of us way back in 2020 when this was it became part of the campaign. And here we are today. And while we have corrected a lot of the missteps and mistakes that were made with the Yamhill West Sider Trail, this component, in my opinion, should not be in the TSP. I do think that having a healthy public hearing and debate over this item is the next step. I also believe that before this is put back in potentially in the future, that the Yamhill County taxpayers at large need to have a public vote in support of light rail, because that is what this is. It is not a bicycle pedestrian trail. We're talking about light rail, and it says it verbatim in the TSP amendment. I am really thankful that all three commissioners, Commissioner Johnston, Commissioner Sterrett, and Commissioner King, have said publicly that they don't support the Yamhill West Sider Trail. I think that's a healthy way to look at a project that really had the cart before the horse, and a lot of mistakes were made. And it's a healthy thing to say, you know what? We should have done this differently, right? We should have gone out for public support. We should have talked to the farmers who do live adjacent to the trail to make sure that their farming activity was not negatively impacted. So I appreciate the fact that the entirety of this board does not support the Yamhill West Sider Trail. And I encourage the passage of this item, but also the healthy public debate that will follow, because this is about light rail. We brought this to the public's attention. We were called liars. We were called a whole litany of different names, some not so pretty, but it is in fact rooted in the desire to have light rail and connect light rail to adjacent counties, namely Washington County. And I think it needs to be said that on the heels of a massive transportation package that was just passed by the Democrats in Salem, if you think that that's bad, wait till you see the price tag for what it will cost Yamhill County taxpayers to pay for light rail. I think that will really shock a lot of people when they actually understand how much this would cost in the future. So to address the previous commenter who said that they shouldn't be voting for commissioners who don't support this, I actually think that the vast majority of Yamhill County taxpayers will support commissioners who stand up on principle. They stand in defense of taxpayers and are willing to tell the truth about what this project really is. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any other online? None. All right. If that's it, we're gonna move on. We are on item I-14. I'm gonna reread it just since it's been a minute. It's consideration to direct the planning director to initiate an amendment process to repeal ordinance 880 and to amend the transportation system plan to remove the Yamhellis Westire Trail as a future transportation project. I would move approval. Is there any further discussion?
As I'm sympathetic with some of the discussion here in public comments, and thank you for coming. I agree with Commissioner Bershauer. Nobody wants light rail here, but the problem that I have is the speediness of which we're trying to do this in. And when talking with COG recently about regional water, that corridor could potentially be used to get at least two of our towns water who are actively trying to potentially become customers of Hillsborough Water. So if we remove this now, sooner rather than later, we can start to take away some of that opportunity. And that's what I really want to make sure we're not doing, is taking away that opportunity for two of our towns, over 6,000 people, to get water, who are having those infrastructure problems, and which I think is a much more fiscally responsible way for them to explore, rather than building their own treatment plants, going to the state to ask for that money, going to the federal government to ask for that money. So rather than, and maybe they'll go to McMinnville, maybe they'll go to Hillsborough. They have options, and I'd like to keep those open for them for now.
Ken, do you want to address that? The concern, if we remove the Yamhellis Westire Trail from TSP, does that preclude us from using it as a right of way for utilities?
Yeah, no, it wouldn't prevent you from using that as a right of way, as long as you retain those rights.
Okay.
So just in clarification, so if it's removed as a future transportation project per the TSP, how does that then allow for additional or ancillary applications?
Do you mean ancillary applications along the corridor, or ancillary applications in the remainder of the TSP?
Well, I guess my biggest concern is that we want to make sure that we're acknowledging that this is a transportation project, because going in the Wayback Machine, when I first came on, it was really sold as a pedestrian, and it really had the rail implications that I don't think the commissioners back, in what would that be, 2012, I don't think they were told that, and that they acknowledged that. So what I'm asking is how do we address the fact that if it's removed as a transportation project, that's really sort of the big concern here. We want to be able to do that.
Yeah, it's up to you as to whether or not you want to go forward to remove it as a transportation project. I was in the audience when they, brought forth this idea, and the commissioners, Les Lewis and Kathy George, and I think it was Mary Stern, were the ones, and they wanted it to be rails and trails. The vision was, first it would be a trail, and then in the future, if it was needed for some sort of a rail project, it would be utilized as that. So I think they knew it was both, because they were the ones that were pushing for us to refer to it as rails with trails. They wanted to have that aspect of it. So if you do remove this from the TSP, then we won't be pursuing it anymore. We'll just be pursuing other projects like
we've got references in the TSP for widening main thoroughfares for bike and pedestrian access. So we would be doing those instead of going after trying to develop the trail.
So it kind of broadens our horizons for projects that we can do instead of being very specific about a project.
Correct.
Thank you. Okay.
And I think I just want to, they were all great comments today and I appreciate everybody coming. I want to touch on something that Philip said, and it was about trying to find the middle ground. And I think this is the middle ground of removing the specificity out of the TSP of this specific project, because that will then, I think, allow us to broaden our scope on where we can build a safe path, whether it's along 47 from Yamhill to Carlton. But I think that'll be part of the larger public discussion on this as we proceed forward. What also I'd like to point out is that George Fox University just posted yesterday through coordination with our Public Works Department, they're requesting input for their survey. They're going to do a project for bike paths and pedestrian paths in the county along county-owned roads. So I think this would be a good opportunity for people to engage with that, with ideas, and help the engineering team at George Fox. Typically what they do is they come up with 30% plans for us as a project for their engineering team. And it's helped us in the past with, typically they focus on dangerous intersections throughout the county, but that's their project this year, is to look at bike paths and pedestrian paths along the county roads in this county. So I think it's a great project. There's a lot of engagement out there. I think it's all positive because we can all, I think, end up coming to an agreement on what it looks like in the future. The other thing is, just to remind everybody, and we kind of touched on this during our budget presentations in May, we do have a dedicated fund to bike and foot paths. And right now it's what it is a 10-year obligation from ODOT. We're at year 6. We're at year 6 of 10. So right now there's 659 grand in that account. There's a little over 100 grand that comes in every year. So we're looking at a little over $1 million by the time we get to year 10 that can go towards a bike path or footpath project. So just want everybody to keep that in mind. I did make a motion. Is there any further discussion? None. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I'm a nay.
Nay. Motion passes with Commissioner Sterrett voting aye, Commissioner Johnston voting aye, and Commissioner Ken voting nay. Thank you.
Thank you.
J is public hearings. There is none.
Chair, before we move too far from that,
Yeah.
I know there was some questions around the noticing.
I was just going to say, I tried to write down everyone's address who testified. And so if you want to be on the notice list for this subject, just let me know. I need to have your mailing address, though. We don't do the notice by email. We can do if there's one party that represents the opponents or proponents, I'm happy to email that to them, but otherwise just give me your address if you wish to be placed on the list.
Plus, we'll be notifying all property owners that border.
Okay.
Okay. All
I
right.
just want to jump in
Yeah.
here real quick with there were comments made that this was something that was snuck on, that the whole process is suspect. I think this is exactly how the process is required to work, where in other words, it comes before the board, goes to the Planning Commission, comes back to the board. There are public hearings along the way. So this is certainly not the beginning, or it's the beginning of a process to look at this. And all this does is give sort of the direction to go ahead and bring this before the Planning Commission, at which point there will be robust discussion, and then it will come back and there will be further hearings. So this is not where we argue the pros and cons of the Yamhill West Sider Trail. This is strictly the transportation system plan and whether or not this needs to be part of it going forward.
Thank you. Public hearings, we have none, which brings us to announcements. Commissioner King, you want to kick us off?
Sure. And I think that I would like to clarify my nay vote is that if we were to remove the rails, I would be 100% fine with that. But to remove anything in light of the conversation about water, I would like to hold off for as long as we can. So that was to clarify that. Again, to reiterate, Ken, I want to really highlight Justin and his family. Definitely in my prayers and thinking about them all week. And I think all of us have been touched by similar situations, so we can agree on that. So my prayers are with them. I'd like to congratulate Rep. Elmer becoming the House Republican leader. Appreciate her bipartisan efforts in our community and in our state. Dundee, I got a message this morning that Dundee got the TGM grant that we signed letters for to be able to update their very outdated transportation system plan. Air show was this week. I got to stop by for an afternoon. I'm hoping that they were going to try to get me an economic impact, what they project bring in, which I'm very interested in. Lots of people there, so I have to, and people come and stay in hotels and travel here. So it was very first time there. Drive by and see them in the air all the time, and turn around by my house and so on. But first time at the show was great. Sat down with Sheridan Fire and our regional solutions coordinator. They've been able to get a grant, a FEMA grant, to provide 3 FTE for their ambulance, but they need some matching money. So I think they're looking for that. And I think they have 22 days to be able to get a 25% match for this year. The Latinx Connections Group at Chehalis Valley Chamber of Commerce met a couple days ago. I was able to stop by there. There's a group that I helped start, and I don't get to visit often. So I love to see their connection and how they're building their community and supporting each other in their business and signing up for chambers and getting involved. And they meet everywhere from Newburgh to Salem. Met with Sam yesterday, mostly talked about our dog control stuff. He's got some dogs that he's having to find some solutions for, and I'm hopefully come up with some solutions with him. And yeah, our OGEC meeting last week, we talked about, I followed up with them. I think that, and I believe Christian followed up as well. And ironically, if you guys have ever talked to OGEC, you might get slightly difference of opinions. And so I think Christian and I have worked out safest way for that, what makes me feel comfortable and him as well. And that really lies down to, where my position was, I can ask some questions, but don't get in the weeds. Save that for here. That's where I feel comfortable. So hoping to make it to the next park board for that. And I'm going to end there because doing well.
Yeah. I got just a quick follow up. So for the Sheridan EMS grant, how long does that go? Is it just a one shot?
It's a 3-year grant. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it was 70% grant, or 75% the first year. I think it's what it was, 75 on the second, and then 35 on the third year. So I think the plan is that by year 4, you've figured out your funding.
To make it sustainable.
Got it. So they're beating the ground trying to find with Business Oregon. They may have some solutions, and I think Regional Solutions is beating the pavement as well. So yeah, I'm hopeful that we can help find them some money, but unfortunate part is it's very quick.
Yep.
So go on.
Commissioner Stewart?
To that, thank you, Chair. The ambulance service area meeting was yesterday. All the providers talked. They mentioned that grant, that FEMA grant. And one of the things we talked about on the Local Government Advisory Committee meeting on Friday was ambulance funding statewide. And that's something we're going to be addressing at our District 6 meeting on Monday. But according to the state, they're looking at working with ASAs on billing strategies. So that would actually make a difference in how they were able to recoup more funding. So we did address that. In terms of, we've heard a lot of sort of, I want to say, misinformation about some of the SNAP funding, some of the Medicaid funding. One of the things we discussed at the LGAC meeting was in reporting from OHA, ODHS, Oregon Emergency Management, all of that. We looked at the actual numbers about who's losing what. So I wanted to give kind of a recap on that. Oregon has one of the highest Medicaid SNAP error rates. And the federal government said, if you don't get that error rate down, you're going to have to make up the difference in what you are spending for food stamps. So again, we've had, the last was 14%. Oregon, if you don't reduce that and get your act together, Oregon, you're going to pay a 15% cost share. So when you hear about all of the people who are going to starve and all of the money that we're going to have to backfill this with, it has to do a lot with our error rate. Wanted to also talk about the fact that there is Medicaid fraud that's not being addressed, and Representative Deal brought this to the attention of the Department of Justice. And there's Medicaid reimbursements that are, you know, in millions of dollars that were given to a Lake Oswego halfway house that was tied to members of the Tren de Aragua group. No one looked into that. No one tried to get that money back. And then when they applied again for more funding, they were given it. So I think we need to keep, you know, take a look at our housekeeping when it comes to Medicaid fraud. So the SNAP rate error is below 5.9%. We wouldn't have to pay anything, but it's not, and it was 22% in 22. So Oregon's got a long way to go to clean up their act. In terms of WIC funding, WIC appears to be fully funded, and they say that it is business as usual, that we already had funding allocated and will get enough through October 15th, as you know, because the continuing resolution wasn't voted on. So they also said everything that funds local public health has been received, and they don't experience any impact at this point. They're working on an omnibus bill to address EMS. When it comes to the federal government saying we are not going to fund Housing First programs, right now, as far as Oregon Housing and Community Services is concerned, they are still continuing to provide those services. So we're keeping an eye on the impact to counties in terms of federal funding. Met with our economic development manager and a local business owner who's got a startup, got her connected with some business networking resources and some grants. Also had a tour of Stratus Village, which I have to say, anybody would be happy to live in those apartments. They are more beautiful and more spacious than market price apartments that I've seen in the area, and they are moving right ahead and they're ahead of schedule. They really are absolutely beautiful. Mentioned the ASA, we're going to take a look at the changes that we recommended. In terms of the passage of that transportation bill, 93% of the people who testified opposed it. And I know, Commissioner King, you said the bill needed to pass. But I think the conception that there's a broad coalition, according to what the governor said, a broad coalition of people who supported this, that's simply not true. What's going to happen is this is going to really impact our constituents. And unfortunately, I have to say that the Republicans showed up and gave quorum to allow this bill to pass. Now it's going to be contingent upon those of us who are going to hit the ground with petitions to try to get this on the ballot, to actually get this in front of the voters. We're going to have a very short window to do this. I will be personally handing out these petition sheets and trying to get people to do what our legislators did not do. And when you look at the numbers of what this is going to actually cost for people in our community, this is unconscionable. So I think it's correct to say that we are all pretty upset about this, and not everybody thought this was a good idea to go ahead and pass. The CPRD Board of Directors meeting, they approved an MOU with Taste Newburgh for phase 2 of their grant program to design an accessible water trail access point near Highway 219, and that is property that CPRD already owns. So I know we have a CPRD board member here, Jason Fields. They approved a contract for a golf course clubhouse market feasibility study. They're going to be adding $5 to the cost of every round of golf. Jakewith Park pickleball courts, they are continuing their construction there. The BMX track hosted the state championship there. Sander Park in Dundee, that estate park, is well underway. And in terms of the Newburgh-Dundee Bypass Trail, shows completion by next July or August, and they've been having meetings to discuss how to continue the construction during the winter projects. Regarding the public meetings laws, I know that Christian had a conversation with OGEC after our meeting. We basically have been doing everything according to what has been prescribed by Oregon statute, and nothing needs to change. And I stand by any kind of invitation to any commissioner to go to any advisory meeting. And one of the things I would recommend, Commissioner King, is to join the LGAC meetings. I know you've gone to them in the past, but they're a really good way to find out what federal funding, how that's going to impact some of our social services. And I know you're concerned about that. So that's all I have.
Cool, thank you. Friday, I went down to Lakeside, Oregon, and attended the ONC Lands meeting. A very interesting group. It was my first meeting with them. This fund brings us in around $100K a year, and it's timber harvest basically on ONC lands. Great meeting, a little disturbing watching the shrinking harvest every year. So they're really fighting hard to really grow those. A lot of state regulations that are hindering us, and a lot of federal regulations that are promising to change now to start increasing timber harvest. We're around 220 million board feet last year, and the ultimate goal sounds like about 750 million. The counties that get a lot of funding from the ONC is what their goal would be for harvest. They anticipate it's probably just going to be a struggle to try to get to 450 million board feet. But great conversations. I like the direction they're going, and it's a great board. Saturday was the Dayton Food Pantry ribbon cutting. Fantastic facility. Nothing like over the top, but very functional, and it's going to last forever. Coolest part is they got a time capsule that they're going to bury there, and they're going to dig it up in 75 years. So that's going to be kind of cool to see what ends up going into that. I have a picture of it, of some of the items that are in there, but I'd like to definitely get on board with that and see if I can't get to them in time before they bury it to throw some of my own stuff in there. So anyway, great deal. Lots of great volunteers. It's also they also do clothes. It's not just a food pantry. Fun fact, $7,000 in pop cans that they get donations for every year, and then they use that money to go supplement food at the food pantry. Anyway, great group, great food pantry out there. Sunday went to Sheridan Fire District Pancake Feed, ran into ex-mayor, had great conversations with her and her sister that's down from Alaska. Just always nice to go there and just kind of see locals and local electeds there and just have nice early morning conversations with. Monday, we had our Council of Governments legislative gathering, and we canceled the get together. It was because the session with the state went too long. We ended up having to cancel our gathering, and we're going to reschedule it for January. So I'll keep you posted on that. Tuesday, we toured the new family place set up in McMinnville, and it's at the First Baptist Church. It used to be a daycare down there, and so family place is moving in. They also do clothes donations along with the classes that they have for the kiddos. They also have clothes donations and a diaper drive, and they go through thousands of diapers thousands. So if you feel like you need to donate some diapers, definitely go check them out there at the First Baptist Church. The hours of operation for the church is when you can get in there to do donations for a family place.
If you're in Newburgh, Crohn's Appliances does them up in that direction. And
Yeah.
Brian Love does a great job.
I've heard that they literally had to build a storage shed
Yeah.
because of how well he does
Yeah,
doing that.
pallets on pallets.
Yeah.
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 One little girl that my daughter's friends with, for her birthday asks for diapers instead of presents. So they all, he shows up.
Yeah, very nice. Wednesday, went to Coffee with a Cop. It's always nice. It's actually my second one that I've gone to. This year I don't know if they did it last year in 2 different places, but I know they've been out in Sheridan twice because I've been out there twice. It's always great to get into conversations with, again, the locals that are there, especially when there's sheriffs around the table. And they're actually pretty open with things that they've done in their childhood that probably were against the law. While there's sheriffs standing there, it's actually leads to really great conversations. But had that on Wednesday. Dayton Fire had their ribbon cutting at their new Hopewell station last night. That's going to be great for the Hopewell community. The one across the road burnt down back in the early 2000s, and they had to rebuild it back into the same footprint for insurance reasons. And you always had to pull a rig out to get another rig out of there if it was a brush rig or they had to swap. Now it's side by side, and all volunteer ran out there. And there was one volunteer, Dan. He's been out there for over 50 years. He's been volunteering at the Hopewell station. Those guys are super excited. And don't forget, tonight is Chat with the Chair at 6 p.m. at the formerly OMI building or the new Yamhill County Government Services building. And I think that's about it for me. So appreciate everybody coming out. Appreciate the comments today. Appreciate the engagement, and we'll see you next